Okay, love an album, but find there's always at least one song on it that's not up to the standard of the rest. This podcast is for you. Welcome to Trimming Musical Fat. I'm Stephen Nicholson.
And I'm Paul Nicholson.
And thank you for joining us for the latest Trimming the Classic episode, a Patreon exclusive. And the subject of today's episode is Metallica's metal genre-changing 30 million plus seller, the Black Album. We and our guests will pick a song from the album that we like least. We'll also select our favourite song and discuss the album as a whole. So, we did plan to have a couple of guests join us for this episode. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, they're unable to live. However, they have left us messages via voicemail so we can share their thoughts on the Black Album with you. So let's talk Metallica, and I'll start with 3 questions for you, Paul. So question 1, what was the second single released from the album?
Unforgiven.
Correct. And question 2, how many weeks has it spent in the US top 200 chart as of April 2022? I'll give you your choices: A, 300, B, 400, C, 500, D, 600.
600.
600 weeks is correct. And question 3, which artist covered the band's Nothing Else Matters for the album's 30th anniversary reissue side release called the Metallica Blacklist?
I know it was in that film last year. Or was it that Disney film about the boat? I think The Rock was in it. I know there was a cover of
Jungle
it there.
Cruise.
Jungle Cruise, yeah, that was in it. It was in Jungle
I haven't
Cruise.
seen it.
I'm going to say Elton John, no? I know Elton John no, he liked the song. Yeah.
He actually might. I'm laughing, but I think he actually did play in it, and it was Miley Cyrus.
All right, okay.
But yeah, I'm sure Elton John played in it. Plus, maybe Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers is on it.
The bassist, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a few other famous faces as well. But yeah, it was credited to Miley Cyrus. I've not listened to it. Have you the Metallica Blacklist?
No, I have it in the Apple Music Library, but I haven't listened to, because it's about 200 songs or something. Well, not 200 songs, 100.
I think there's 30.
So not more than that.
Well, I read up on it the other day. If I'm sure it was 30.
What's the Blacklist? Is that I'm talking about the whole box set.
Oh, no. I'm talking about the Metallica Blacklist, where different artists covered their favorite song from the album.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed up. I'm thinking of the like the whole box set.
Yeah, and I think it was 30 songs on this Blacklist because it was the 30th anniversary. I am presuming. Anyway, Metallica is the eponymous 5th studio album by American heavy metal band Metallica. It's commonly known as the Black Album due to its plain black cover. It was released on August 12, 1991, and it was the follow-up to the band's and Justice for All album, to which we've already dedicated a podcast episode, so go listen to that now if you haven't already. So the album marked a change in the band's music from the thrash metal style of their previous 4 albums to a slower, heavier, and more refined sound. They released 5 singles from the album, and they were Enter Sandman, Unforgiven, Nothing Else Matters, Wherever I May Roam, and Sad But True. And the album received widespread critical acclaim and became the band's best-selling album. It debuted at number 1 in 10 countries and spent 4 consecutive weeks at the top of the US album chart, making it Metallica's first album to top the charts. Metallica is one of the best-selling albums of all time. So, Paul, it came out in 1991. Do you remember when you first heard it?
I think you'd got the CD because
Yep.
I had the singles. I had Enter Sandman picture disc, which I hadn't even heard it. I knew it was their new single, so I bought it. And the album came out, and then I got the single for Unforgiven. And what was interesting was they were both picture discs as well too. But in terms of the album, yeah, so I probably would have heard it. Because I think you got it quite quickly, didn't you, when it came out? Would that be right? Or certainly before the end of the year.
Yeah, because I think me and most of my friends bought it all. I think most of the people I hung out with at that time. So I think Jonathan, Neil Mason, Mark, Bryan, all bought a copy. And I may have been the only one that actually bought the CD. I think the rest maybe got it on cassette or vinyl, of which I now have. So this is the fit. Well, for those that are listening, this won't help you, but for those watching, I have the Black Album in front of me, although I've got a filter on, so you can't really see it. The plain black cover. But yeah, so I got it. I'm pretty sure near the time of the release, and I remember it becoming the most scratched CD in my collection because I remember I bought a CD player for my car.
Yeah.
When I first got my first car, and the CD player was worth more than the car, but a lot of the time you left the CDs out of their cases, and of course they ended up rolling around the car and getting scratched to hell. And I think that and the Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion were the two that got the most scratching. So I do remember that. So what did you think of the album at the time, and what do you think of it now?
Yeah, I thought it was really good at the time. I suppose it was a bit more commercial, so like, because up to that point I'd only really heard like One and Harvester of Sorrow before that, but there was a lot of anticipation, I remember, at the time. And yeah, great album. I mean, Enter Sandman's got one of the best riffs ever. And it's funny looking back at it, you're saying what you think of it now. I still like it, but it's not something I've probably listened to a lot. And it's interesting because I watched the Metallica documentary. I can't remember what it's called, but basically
Some Kind of Monster.
Yeah, and James Hetfield kind of, we didn't know that at the time, but a lot of that was kind of macho posture environment at the time. Like he was kind of struggling inside, but you just saw this macho stuff. So when I think of that era, I think of that sort of macho nonsense, if you like, but brilliant. No, I think it's a really good album and great singles, and that was when they really hit the big time. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, at the time I thought it was great, and I still do. For me, it was a really clever way for the band to progress by slowing down the music but keeping the killer riffs. And I think it opened up, well, it's an obvious fact, it opened up their music to a wider audience and allowed them to change musically. So yeah, I did buy the recent 30th anniversary vinyl re-release, and I mean, it's still a great album. Heavy, great riffs, great tunes, great musicianship. It's well produced. It's just a classic album. And the guitar solo in Unforgiven is still, for me, one of the best things ever recorded. Sensational. You got a favourite song from the album, Paul?
Song, Enter Sandman. Yeah, it's just, I love the riff. I love Nothing Else Matters as well, and obviously we've got Michael Kamen doing the music in there as well.
Did you ever listen to the collaboration they did with Michael Kamen?
I haven't.
Is it
Uh,
S&M?
S&M,
San
yeah.
Francisco thing with Michael Kamen's orchestra.
Yeah, it's on my list, actually.
It's brilliant.
I think you saw a little bit of it in that documentary.
Mm.
But I remember not long after the album came out, in fact, saying not long, maybe a year after it, and they released those video documentaries. Remember, they were quite interesting, and you saw them at like the Freddie Mercury tribute concert and behind the
Yep.
scenes, and you saw them recording the album. It was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my favourite song, I agree with you, Enter Sandman. It's a really obvious choice, but it is one of the greatest songs of all time, isn't it? So, and age does not dull it. And I think the bit about 4.5 minutes in, when you get the song's main riff played, and then the band kicks back in, is brilliant. I've played many an eardrum drum to that moment. And what's your least favorite song on the album? In fact, you know what? Let's maybe use one of our guests here. Let's bring Bryan in to tell us what his least favorite song is.
For Metallica, the Black Album, I would have to go for Enter Sandman as my favourite. It's just a classic song. Has to be the favourite, I think. But yeah, it's a tough one, this as well. There's a lot of good songs, but my least favourite would be The God That Failed. Yeah, not a bad song, but just my least favourite.
Thanks for that, Bryan. Paul, what about you? What's your least favourite from the album?
The last song for me, The Struggle Within. It's not that it's a bad song. Yeah, it's just, yeah. I almost feel, I think at that stage after maybe the last couple of songs, the album kind of runs out of steam for me, which is why it's good we're doing a show like this.
Yeah, I mean, I like the struggle within. I like the drums at the beginning and the way the guitar kicks in. My least favorite would be, and again, it's not a bad song, but "Don't Tread on Me," which. Finishes off side one, ironically. You're picking the song that finishes side two, so to speak. But yeah, Don't Tread on Me, decent song. But I just think all the other songs in the album are just more interesting, either lyrically and or musically. The guitar and drums sound great, but the chorus is maybe a bit heavy metal cliche. On the plus side, it is one of the shorter songs on the album, so that's worked out well for me.
I bought the album in 1991 after I heard Enter Sandman on the radio, and that's why Enter Sandman is my favourite song off the album. It's got such a great intro, and it's a great first song for a superb album. My Friend of Misery is my least favourite, not because it's not a bad song, it's just that compared to the others, which are all classics, it's not quite as good. I think the album, I loved it when I first bought it on tape. That's how long ago it was. And I still love it now. So it's stood the test of time really well.
Hi, this is Mark. I'm speaking about Metallica's Black Album for Trim Musical Fat podcast. I first heard the Black Album when it came out. We all queued outside, a group of us queued outside Avalanche Records, I think it was, on Edinburgh South Side on the day it came out, waiting for the shop to open. As soon as it opened, we went in and we bought it on tape. Each took it home and listened to it and thought it was good. But I didn't think it was good as the first four albums, and I still don't. I think it doesn't have a killer track like Battery, Fade to Black, or One. I don't like some of the lyrics on it. I think they're not as... it's just like they're not... The band don't have as much reason to be angry anymore. Songs like Holier Than Thou, just complaining about people criticising them, doesn't really have a lot of meaning.
It's time for us to go. Thanks to all the guests for joining us, and thanks to you for listening. Let's all say it as one. Until next time, keep trimming. Next Patreon exclusive episode, Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet in Trimming the Classic. Next full episode is dedicated to U2's cover of Everlasting Love in Hidden Prime Cuts.
I love it. I love it!